single-handedly my favorite piece of the offseason. I'm quoting PJ, our contributor at campus2canton.com. Even before he was a member of our site, he thought that our 3-star review of recruits who are under the radar but have a chance to pop was his favorite piece of content that I put out last year. And this year we are improving on it. Number one, we are going to add quarterbacks to the mix. That's going to start tonight. Also, we will be coming at you with running backs and receivers, all rated 3 stars by the recruiting services, but with skills and a profile that looks like it could pop. So whether you're playing in a C2C league, whether you're playing in a very deep Devy league, or you just like recruiting and want to know who's going to be an under-recruited star when they hit college, pay attention. This is our 3-star review on The Official. Good evening, gentlemen. I got Matt here. I got David here. We are going to be talking about quarterbacks tonight, specifically 3-star quarterbacks who were potentially under-recruited, potentially undervalued, both in real life and fantasy. Before we get started, if you're watching this video and you have not checked out campus2canton.com, that's who sponsors this podcast and sponsors this YouTube channel. Go ahead and check it out. We got a lot of things going on. We just revamped the website. It looks absolutely beautiful with some new functionality and also some new membership options should you like what we have there. But certainly go check out our home website, campus2canton.com. That's with a number 2. Gentlemen, are you ready to talk some quarterbacks?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Okay, so if you've been following along with us, for the first 3 episodes of this series, we've basically peeled back the curtain a little bit, described why there are certain things that we like for quarterbacks and running. Well, we've focused, I think, mainly on so far quarterbacks and wide receivers. And tonight we are going to show and reveal some of these like lower ranked guys that pop in the metrics that we're looking at based on the film we've looked at, but basically putting it all together and really honing in on some actual names. Matt, what's your process a little bit before we get into it? What are you looking for in quarterbacks, whether it's a metric that pops out to you or certain things on film?
Yeah, I haven't really dove into the metrics for quarterbacks yet, but for film, obviously a strong arm. That's the easiest thing to see that's going to translate to the next level. And the other thing I would say is improvisational skills. Just how well they can react when everything else is going wrong. Now, obviously, the technical side matters a ton for quarterback, but these are high schoolers, and that area can improve a good amount through college still.
Yeah, absolutely. It can improve. I think that's the hardest thing for these quarterbacks is, these high school highlights, everyone looks really, really good. Mm-hmm. And like you said, these are raw, incomplete products. But that's why we dive into some of the numbers, because the high school tape can be tough to know what am I really looking at here, because everyone looks really great. David, what are some things that you've come to realize, remind our viewers, that you look for when you're looking for these high school quarterbacks?
Well, where my process is at right now, the first thing is generally the film. I'm currently creating a large high school quarterback database, but we haven't really quite started the model yet. So a lot of my stuff is just kind of inferences at this point. But generally speaking, I'm looking at passing efficiency, their level of competition, like who they're throwing to. So surrounding cast, how talented the wide receivers they were. Because there are times where, if they have a very talented wide receiver, it could inflate their stats. And then like a couple episodes we talked about, rushing market share. We're trying to get to about 10%, I guess. That's typically where to go to. I've seen some as high. I think Tyler Buckner was the highest I've looked at so far at like 69% or something ridiculous. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. We're gonna at some point we'll put together a QB model, but right now we're just sort of gathering data.
Yeah, but I think a couple things that really resonate to me. Obviously, we're still in the business or in the process of kind of quote unquote proving it in terms of are we beating the film essentially or beating some of the services at quarterback, which is going to be a tall task. But rushing market share, I mean, I feel like I've seen enough. That is really important. And again, to reiterate, it is not to say these guys are going to be dual threats at the next level. I think it's misunderstood when I've talked about it on Twitter that I'm only looking for dual threats. No, it's actually, and you can go back to episode, I believe it was episode 2, and hear what we were saying. It's just showing baseline athleticism. If you're going to end up in the NFL, you better be the best athlete on the field in high school, even if you're not going to be some kind of Michael Vick at the next level. And then also, I think we've looked at arm velocity. I think that is important. I think at this age, you can still see what you need to be even in high school, and that's not going to improve too drastically. Decision making will. I think some of the stuff Matt talked about, like pocket awareness and ability to improvise, I think that can definitely be taught, but some of these things you're kind of probably close to being there even at 18 years old. So, all right. Well, first things first, let's get into my quartet here. So these are my 4 top 3-star quarterbacks as rated by the services. Number 1 for me is going to be Conor Harrell. He's headed to UNC. You can see him, that beautiful baby blue there. Just really checks like every box that I'm kind of interested in. He's a 2-time state champion for his high school football team, which is great. That's not necessarily, it just means like he's part of a successful team. He was a good leader on that team, completed 73% of his passes last year, 15 yards per completion, but also 42 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. I mean, he just really did everything you want him to do. He's mobile, he can run around, he hits the market share threshold. And then even though he's a 3-star quarterback, he's headed to UNC. So he's going to get that prestige. He's going to be at a major school. Next would be Alex Orji out of, I believe, the state of Texas and headed to Michigan. I think with an arm, he's got a very strong arm. I think the accuracy and some of the things about placement could be improved upon, but the guy runs like crazy. He's definitely going to be a dual threat, had almost 1,000 yards as a senior. I kind of think of him as Malik Murphy with wheels. Malik Murphy has a huge arm. I think Orji has a really strong arm, but he's also a runner, and I like that about him. So he's kind of an upside pick. With the actual throwing and the arm is a little bit maybe more in question in terms of accuracy. Tremendous athlete though, and I'm not sold on JJ McCarthy yet, so there could be some playing time in his future at Michigan. Next is going to be Thomas Castillanos, who is headed to UCF, so we're digging into the G5 ranks. But let me tell you, even for college production only, like, this guy is truly the most explosive looking quarterback to me I looked at over 50, maybe 75 quarterbacks in this class. Nobody can run like him. Nobody can make guys miss. I mean, on the ground, he's truly dangerous. Absolutely one of the most dangerous rushing threats. What really sealed the deal for me to put him on this list is David found that he had a max arm velocity of over 50, which is kind of that threshold. So even though he's a smaller guy, listed, I think 5'11", 6 feet, wherever you look, about 190 pounds or so, the arm at least is good enough. And that makes me excited, especially with those wheels. And then finally is going to be Luther Richardson here from out of Nashville, headed to Cincinnati. Very, very under-recruited. First came across his name when I was looking at the roster for the Elite 11 finals. And I was like, who is this guy Richardson? Like, he's not even anywhere near the top. I mean, hardly even a top 50 quarterback, much less overall player. And you turn on the film and he's very exciting. He's got a strong arm. My favorite thing about him is like placement and accuracy. I mean, he definitely completed, I'm almost certain it was over 70% of his passes as a senior. just incredibly accurate, great ball placement, throws an absolutely gorgeous ball. I think he's got a little rushing in him too. As a senior, I think he might have cracked that 10% we look for. I think as a junior, he wasn't quite there, but I don't know if we had complete team stats. Sometimes these can be kind of difficult to find. But in summary, yeah, I like Richardson going to probably the premier G5 school in the country in Cincinnati, who's going to be a Power 5 team within a few years. Of course, so is UCF for that matter. So all these guys will end up playing Power 5 competition by the end of their college careers, and I think they all can make a big impact. So that's my take. Those are my 4 guys. I know we can save David. We can save Conor Harrell. I know you have a little more to talk about Conor Harrell. Any of you guys have feelings on Orji?
I liked Orji from the limited quarterback study I did, but I know he's really well built. I think he's 6'1", 220-ish. Like he's already like pro built. There's no worry about that. Like you said, great arm, pretty mobile. I didn't know he had 1,000 yards rushing, but he's probably like a he's probably like a 4.6, 4.7 guy, I'd imagine. I liked him.
Well, I mean, 4'6" at 225 pounds is like at a quarterback position. I mean, that's awesome. He's definitely a good athlete. He's what I wanted Malik Murphy to be, but Murphy just isn't a runner, but really at all. In fact, he doesn't even meet the minimum. David, what did you think about Orji and or Castillanos? Do you think Castillanos is as exciting as I do?
Yeah, let me just talk about Orji first. Yeah, he did crack the 1,000-yard rushing mark. So he had over 2,000 yards his final 2 years in high school.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And we have to contextualize that. Like he's playing really good competition. Like I think he's 6A Texas, which is as tough as it gets. And like you guys are saying, I mean, the guy looks like Malik Willis already. It's like he's like 225 pounds. I watched a video of him squatting like 550 already. Like, I mean, the guy, he's a freak. It makes me nervous at Michigan, like fantasy wise. Like, is Harbaugh is he gonna get anything out of him? I don't know. And also they have a propensity to like move to change position, like have a guy commit, say like, oh yeah, we're going to use it at quarterback. And then they just change positions and all of a sudden he's like a linebacker. So I don't know. I'm not trying to crap on the pick or anything. I'm just saying there's some risk to it. Obviously these are 3 stars. As far as Castellanos, I mean, yeah, he's a total jitterbug. I mean, the guy is super twitched up, athletic. Yeah, he's on the smaller side, but like he's an absolute playmaker. The landing spots, so I would say like UCF, as far as like for quarterbacks go, I don't know how exciting he is. I know they run the ball like a lot. So
Malzahn does have a history though of using a running quarterback. I mean, he didn't really have one last year. So I think there's a chance that you could get some nice fantasy stats if they run him like wasn't Nick Marshall under the Malzahn era, and he ran a ton, and was Cam under Malzahn? He was, right?
I think Cam,
the Gus bust, that was all what started the Gus bust thing, right? Thought so.
Yeah, so he'll be able to utilize his legs, I think. So that's always good for fantasy.
Also, I think UCF. You can go. Sorry.
No, you go.
I think UCF has been bringing in a lot of guys in this class that I really like.
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, they got Townsend, who we're talking about, Jordan McDonald, the running back, Quan Lee, a wide receiver I really like. I think they got another big wide receiver in too. I forget who though.
They had a nice class. I think they must have been looking at maybe some of the same stuff we seem to look at. Another note on Orji, he's got 2 brothers playing defense for Vanderbilt. So Power 5 bloodlines, of a safety and a linebacker. So like, hope he doesn't follow their footsteps like David was saying and wind up at linebacker. But, obviously incredibly athletic family. It would have been better the whole cycle. He was committed to Va Tech, and I think he could have played like right away almost at Va Tech. I mean, that was before they brought in Wells from Marshall. And, it was lining up really well. I guess the coaching change, maybe he just didn't like that uncertainty or whatever, and Michigan swooped in. But I think he's interesting. I'm not sold on JJ McCarthy, man. I mean, I'm not. I think I was a little overrated on him when he first came out. Actually, in hindsight, looking at some of the stuff we've come to look at now, I think maybe I was a little bit too overzealous on him being like special, and then he can't seem to, beat out McNamara even headed into this offseason. McNamara's coming back, and so it's like now it's just really starting to get muddy to me. So I think he's nice. Yeah. Okay, Matt, you're up for your guys. You gave me 4. Or no, I'm sorry. David's going next. I'm sorry, David. You're up next with your 4. Take us away.
All right. First guy is going to be Nicco Marichol. He goes to Hamilton High. He's playing 6A Premier League in Arizona. Statistically, he looks really clean across the board. 142 QBR, 74% completion percentage, 10% yards per or 10 yards per attempt, 12 adjusted yards per attempt. Matt checked his ball velocity. We got him at 51.3, which is right where we're going to be. And then his rushing market share is 35% as a junior, 17% as a senior. So he can definitely move. Also, as far as the surrounding cast go, he doesn't have. Okay, Let me just jump to. We'll touch more on him later. As far MJ Morris is my second guy going to North Carolina State. Also, he's pretty clean statistically. 123 QBR, 63% completion. He hits the rush market share as well, 24.4%. I think he has an opportunity to produce right away. Not right away. Sorry. I think Devin Leary's got one more year probably, and then he goes to the NFL. I think he might get drafted as like maybe a backup, but he's got opportunity to play in year 2 and then potentially hold the job. We kind of touched on Conor Harrell. So Conor Harrell is he essentially didn't lose a game. I know we don't say wins are a QB stat, but still, I mean, like, he is super successful in high school. Basically, the only game that they lost that he started was against Hoover High, and he got injured before the halftime. They were up 21-10. The backup totally blew the game. They lost 24-21. So he's a proven winner. He's one of four guys in my database that have over 140 QBR, and the other guys are Bryce Young, Joe Burrow, and DJ Ungalele. So he's crazy efficient. There's really no weaknesses to, like, his whole profile is really clean. I don't know why he's rated so low. And then the last guy I'm going to touch on is Richard Torres. This one's a total dart throw. I'm going to be pretty blunt about that. Like, there's analytically, I have nothing to lean on here. He's out of Southside High, and he played 5A out of San Antonio, Texas. He's 6'5", 210. He's got a big arm, and I really like his motion. I thought he moved well, or surprisingly well for a guy that big. He's not a dual threat or anything, but like, I think he's going to be able to extend plays and be a playmaker if he develops. So he didn't play as a freshman or a sophomore. I don't have complete stats as a junior. And then he only played 3 games as a senior because he tore his ACL. So he has very little playing experience in general. This is basically a bet on traits. And I don't know. I wanted to mention that Scott Frost is the guy that found Justin Herbert like 6 years ago. He had a better profile, but it's just the same kind of like size guy with a big arm. At the time, Justin Herbert, that was his only P5 offer, and this guy has like almost no attention to. So maybe lightning strikes twice here, and Scott Frost found another gem. So I don't know. What do you guys think about these guys?
Yeah, Torres, I took a look at, you were talking him up. I mean, you described him well. He's huge. He looks bigger, honestly, even than he's listed. Like, he just looks so thick and well built. Cannon. And he's just kind of a wild man back there. I mean, I feel like you said he extends plays, but it's not always with purpose. Like, he's just kind of wild. So he's interesting for sure. And I still think Scott Frost is like a decent coach, I guess, but like, man, he's been brutal at Nebraska. So I don't know how much to blame on Adrian Martinez, because he can't really run an offense. He's fun for fantasy, but like actual quarterbacking, he's not good.
Yeah. I will say they hired Mark Whipple as their offensive coordinator, and he did pretty well with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of a lateral move. That was a little weird. I guess that's a show for another day. Matt, any thoughts on Torres before we move on? You may not have actually.
I honestly haven't. I haven't watched Torres, to be honest. Actually,
yeah, he's a deep cut. He's a real.
Did I grab the ball velocity on him? Do we have?
I don't think he has. I tried to find one. I don't think he has a usable play. I even looked at some of his camp stuff and I couldn't find it.
Oh yeah, I do think that's right.
I'm just going off the eye test. Like, I think he has a cannon, but I hope I'm not wrong, I guess. I couldn't.
It looks like he uncorks a couple. I mean, I remember it when you were telling me about him. I definitely want to bring up MJ Morris. Like, he definitely had the swaggiest picture that I found of any of the quarterbacks. Yeah. Like, he just looks like a badass. And he was definitely on my short list. Every year I kind of, you got the guys everybody knows about, but my favorite thing is to do this sort of thing, go into the 3 stars and try to find guys I like. And he was on my short list. He ended up not making my cut of like the top guys, but if I'm probably going to put out a written piece that's going to be my top 10 3 stars. And I think he would make that cut. So what did you like about him on tape or anything? Because I mean, I'm interested. And now that McLaughlin is gone from NC State, I agree with you. He has some playing time in short order, 2023 and beyond.
Yeah, so I think he's just pretty good across. Like, I don't think he's amazing at anything. I just think he's kind of like above average at everything. Like, he's got pretty good mobility. Like I said, 24.4 rushing market share. He played in 6A Georgia, which is really stiff competition. Mm-hmm. Like, his passing efficiency is, I'm usually looking for 130, but he's at 123. It's still, pretty solid. And he's got a pretty good arm. He's also a baseball player. Not like a cannon or anything, but it's good enough, I feel like, especially like the ACC kind of stinks defensively. Like, I think he'll be fine there. But like I said, like, I think Devin Leary, I think one more year I don't think he's going to be a 6-year guy. I don't know. I think he'll just do one more year. And then the other guys they have on the roster are Ben Finley and Zoe Wallace. I looked at their profiles from high school. Like, it's not good. Like, these guys, I would be surprised if they were good.
Is Zoe Wallace the 250-pound, like 6-foot QB?
I didn't look at it. I think he is I think he is a thick guy. Yeah.
I remember last summer I did this thing where I went through every roster for college teams to find like the most absurd size, weight freaks, and he was one that stood out.
Okay, I'll have to look it up.
Randomly came to me.
But also, like Alfred mentioned, Aaron McLaughlin is he transferred out, and then I looked at for 2023 they have this Lex Thomas guy who is committed. He's 5'10", 180, and he had negative 16 yards rushing last year. So like. I guess my reason for liking, like, I think he's a good player, but I also think that I think he could be a starter in year 2, and then he kind of just like holds the job. And you like to get a multi-year starter for a 3-star is like, does he have NFL potential? I don't know, probably not, but like, you probably get him for 3 years or 4 years or whatever it is. So
yeah, I think we have to put this in context. I mean, this is a fun show. We all love 3 stars in the sleepers, but like, it's hard enough to predict an NFL guy out of the 5 stars. It's a 50-50 shot. If you're only choosing 5-star guys, it's 50-50. These are all long shots to make the NFL, but it happens. And, we're going to throw a hat in the ring and try to guess. So to recap though, David also had Conor Harrell as a guy. That's going to be a theme tonight, and I would say he's got the most likely chance to like really be something out of this group. I don't know why he's a 3-star. I talked to a guy from 24/7 who kind of admitted that like their team in that area, they maybe don't have as many people. It's not covered as well. And they maybe just kind of missed him a little bit, which is, we're all human and stuff like that. But I don't know. He just really went under the radar, which is weird because he's at a major school in Alabama. Like, it's not like he's playing for some no-name school. So 2-time state champ, like he's on people's radars. And then Nicco, if you haven't watched him at all, who I think he's a left-handed Gunnar Stockton a little bit myself, and Gunnar Stockton is very highly rated. I think Nicco looks a little bit like him in play style, body composition, the whole 9 yards. But he led one of the most insane comebacks you'll ever see. Go check that out on YouTube. Just type in, I think it's Hamilton High School, and like the first 5 things that come up on YouTube will be insane comeback. Like they closed a 23-point gap or something in like 3 minutes on national TV on ESPN. So if nothing else, he's a gamer. I don't think we have a metric for that, but he's definitely a gamer. All right, Matt, take us through your top 4 quarterbacks, 3 stars.
All right. First up here, Delaney Crawford going to Virginia. He's 6'3", 180. He's a really high-end sprinter, a 10.5 100 meter, and he clocked 21.6 miles per hour on the field. He kind of got stereotyped into like, the fast quarterback who can't throw, but he can throw. He has a pretty well above average arm. The first clip on his huddle is of him rolling out to the left and dropping a 55-yard dime to the corner of the end zone. So that alone had me intrigued with his potential there as a passer as well. And with Armstrong leaving, the doors opening up for him there at Virginia. Next up here is going to be Caleb Johnson. He is going to Louisville, 6'2", 200 pounds, only 2 Power 5 offers. And he's the incoming heir for Malik Cunningham. And I think he's going to be the better, more higher pro potential version. I guess they do have similar games. Caleb Johnson's a very capable runner, but he's not the guy who's going to take off all the time. He's more of a extend the play, improvisational, which I do love. And he's got plenty of arm strength. So I really do like his potential outcomes there at Louisville, especially with this is Malik's last year for sure. So, and then next is Conor Harrell, which we've already covered him a good bit here, but something we didn't say is that he is offered by Harvard, which really speaks to how good this guy is off the field as well. Must be really intelligent, take school seriously. So that's a pretty big deal. And, it might be 2 years until we see him play, which is unfortunate because, Drake May. But he could potentially push for the role. Who knows? But we're probably not going to see him super early, which is unfortunate. But when he does play, he'll probably have the weapons around him. And then last up here is going to be Josh Hoover. He is the TCU commit. And I did like his film. He's much more of a stationary player than I would like a quarterback. He really hangs in the pocket there. And he does have a good arm. He does throw off platform a bit with varying arm angles, which is something that I always like. But it's more about the situation he's going into with Sonny Dykes coming in there, the wide receiver talent they have there, and then the awful quarterback talent that's going to be in front of him. So, and I love Max Duggan, but he's not good. So, especially with new coach coming in, might as well change it up.
Not good for real life. He's actually kind of good for fantasy because he runs a lot.
Yeah.
I agree with you that he's not
he's not a good actual quarterback.
Right, not a good actual.
He's a ridiculous athlete though.
Yeah. Just starting it off with Hoover, the guy at the end there, he was ranked very high for me for a lot of the cycle until we just uncovered this whole rushing market share thing. And he
Yeah, I
does
think he
not
had
meet that
6
threshold.
rushing yards.
Yeah, he like
9.
doesn't run at all.
9 rushing yards.
Which isn't, it's David found it that it kind of is something, it's a red flag for the NFL, but I don't think it's really a red flag for college. You can still throw, Carson Strong had negative 200 yards in high school and still threw for a ton of yards in college. So I think it's not as much of a concern of athleticism at the college level. I really like Hoover's arm. I think he's one of the better throwers of the football in the whole class. Great placement, very catchable ball. Interestingly enough, Hoover kind of is like this lightning rod for a couple of things, right? So he's got the rushing yards market share, and then also he's got these elite teammates around him that David has really kind of just scratched the surface. But doesn't he have 2 other big time? He's got 2 other Power 5 teammates, which is pretty impressive.
He had 2 other,
Rockwall.
so
or
Jordan,
3. I think 2 of the receivers maybe, and the running back.
Yeah, so Jordan Neighbors. We weren't high on these guys, I don't think. Jordan Neighbors going to Baylor and Jay Fair going to Auburn, and then Zach Evans going to Minnesota. He's a running back, though.
I mean, they're good, but nobody crazy good.
Well, but I mean, a Power 5 scholarship is like better than most high school players. But they were playing in against other teams that had plenty of Power 5 guys too, because they were playing in like big time Texas football at Rockwall Heath, I think it was. But tell me, I mean, can you elaborate on Delaney Crawford a little bit? Because I watched him just a little bit, but he came across my desk, so to speak, late in the process, and I didn't really have time to like move him up. But I remember the first thing, I think it was a tweet or something, and it was like a 10-500 meter quarterback, which is
ridiculous.
It's moving. I mean, that's like Vic level stuff right there.
I'd imagine that's probably the fastest 100 meter of any quarterback, I think. Do you remember what Nate Johnson's was,
I mean, maybe
David?
Ever? I don't know.
Oh, no, for the class. There's definitely faster ever.
Well, Robert,
yeah, Nate Johnson
was near there.
He was like 10, somewhere around there. Maybe even 10-3. I don't know. He was fast too.
Yeah, but either way, it translates to the field. But going into he only has 1 Power 5 offer, and that's to Virginia. I think Sam Houston State was the next biggest school to offer him. But I mean, it's just a perfect opportunity with Armstrong leaving, high volume passing offense. They love running quarterbacks there. So, and they did get the other really fast quarterback, Davis Lane, in. I think Delaney has a better arm than him just in general, is a better passer. But, I mean, Delaney can run all over the field behind the line of scrimmage and just whip it across the field. He has a plenty good arm. So that's usually your big concern with these skinny, fast quarterbacks. That they just don't have enough juice. But, I mean, he can chuck it.
I mean, it's just he's the prototype for like, even in a C2C draft that's 45 rounds long, if you're doing a startup, like he'll be available at the 45th round pick. Like just stash him, see if there's good news that come out of camp. Like you said, I mean, there's no incumbent quarterback. Did they even get a transfer? I'm not sure there's even.
No, one of their guys transferred out.
And
so they have
Armstrong
one guy
transferred as well?
No, Armstrong's still there.
Oh, just for this year.
Yeah. This is live. He's gonna go to the draft after this year.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, like just that pure unbridled upside, which you love to see in the 45th round or whatever. Yeah. Or if you're in a college football dynasty, that's another place to think about Delaney Crawford. But I mean, at least the college upside is just immense, like 1,000 yards rushing.
I mean, if he can get on the field, then his floor is Bryce Perkins at least,
Yeah, which was startable for a year or two. I mean, he was good in the fantasy realm. So All right, so we gave you guys 11 unique quarterbacks. We all had Conor Harrell. Otherwise, we had good variety here. That's 11 unique guys. And before we sign off, does anybody have an extra super deep wild card that you just want to throw a name out there? I have one.
Oh,
I don't
man.
know if you guys do.
I feel like Delaney was my deep wild card. He's like QB 107 for 24/7.
He's way down the line. Yeah.
Let's hear yours, Alfred.
So I like this guy called Joe Humphries. He's out of, I think, Indiana, and he's headed to.
Oh, is he in Miami, Ohio?
He's Miami of Ohio.
You sent me him. I remember.
I really like him. You clocked him. I believe he was at least 19 miles an hour, maybe 20, which for a quarterback is just great. He looks legitimately athletic, like really like make a guy miss athletic, not just I can get 10 yards, but like I can actually contribute as a runner. And I think he had just enough in the arm, maybe 49 miles per hour. I think he might have been just under 50, but we're talking about a guy that we're not expecting NFL, but in the MAC, give me some of that MACtion with Joe Humphries running around. I mean, go check out his huddle tape. Like, he's super exciting. He has a fairly quick release, I think. And, just looks really fun, really, really fun. One of those guys where, you're kind of grinding through a bunch of huddle tapes, and then one guy within 2 or 3 plays, you kind of sit up in your seat and like, oh, this is interesting. And that's what he was for me. So Joe Humphries, Miami of Ohio. Hopefully we'll be watching him on Tuesday nights in the near future.
Yeah. As far as mine, I kind of narrowed it down to 3 G5 guys that kind of pass a sniff test as far as statistically. It was Cardell Williams going to Tulsa, Bishop Davenport going to Utah State, and the third was Joshua Wood going to Fresno State. And I don't know, they're all similar, I would say. I think I liked Cardell Williams' his tape the most. He doesn't have like an amazing arm or anything. Maybe that's why he's a G5 player, but like, he can navigate the pocket well and make some plays, and he's an efficient passer. I thought, honestly, he hits 10% rushing market share. I thought he was more like, I thought he would be more of a runner, like on raw stats, like 269 rushing yards is his max there his senior year, which isn't amazing, but he still hit 10%. So he passes the sniff test. His tape was pretty impressive. Like, I thought it was pretty good for a G5 guy. So I guess that's one guy that's interesting. Like, he could produce at Tulsa for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, Williams was a guy on my radar most of the cycle as well, as kind of that, there's just a sea of quarterbacks once you get past the really elite guys, and just one of those guys that kind of looked a little extra, maybe a 3+ star, 3.5 star guy, however you want to call it. Like, not saying like Conor Harrell to me should like be a 4-star, and like he should be on most people's lists, but a lot of these other guys are more like 3.5. Like, they're showing a little more than a 3-star to me. And Williams was certainly one of those guys. So I thought he popped similarly. But so, yeah, that's almost 15 3-star QBs for you folks. We think we have some nice upside here. We did not do 3-star 3-star quarterbacks last year. So we'll see if they end up, popping. But for quarterbacks, let's give them a couple years. We're not saying this is year one stuff, but tune in next week where we are going to be doing, well, I guess I don't know, running backs or receivers, one of the two. We'll have to figure out which list we want to do. But over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing, or next 3 weeks, running backs and receivers. And we have a special guest coming at the end of March as well. So we got a lot planned. Stick with us. And this has been The Official. Good night, guys.